What's up, everybody out there? Welcome back to yet another Addicted Fishing tutorial. My name is Jordan Kinnigy, and today I'm sitting here with Kyle McClellan, and we're going to go over the basics and some of the how-tos on how to fish with spawn sacks. So if you guys want to learn more on how to fish with spawn sacks, stay tuned. It's coming at you right now. Yep, got him. Got him. Oh, twin to the last one too. Yeah. Wow, what an awesome steelhead. Look at that, everybody. So first things first, when we're talking about fishing with spawn sacks, we're gonna really talk about the rod setup, which is very important because we're gonna be float fishing. So he has a pin rod, he's gonna explain that here in just a second. I'm fishing with a spinning rod, and what I have here is an Okuma X Series 9'10" rod. Any style of rod really works, any brand of rod, but I like the Okuma X Series. It's very light, it's easy to fish all day. But the real thing is that we're getting towards that 10 foot of length. How long's your rod that you got here?
So mine's a 13 as well, and especially for these bigger river systems, I like a little bit longer rod with this mono. That way you can just pick up a lot of line fast in your hook set and get a good hook set from long distances.
Exactly, and so what I have here is a spinning setup, but I have braid on it, which works as well as with the mono, and this is a completely different rig, so he'll explain that more in just a second. But I have a 9'10" rod. This is an 8 to 17 pound rating. That way I can fight some of those big fish, and I can use that long rod to manage that line. I have a 50 pound tough line braid on here, tied with a 20 pound fluorocarbon bumper, and that's all the way down to my slide float. And that's what I have on here. His is gonna be a fixed float, this is a slide float. So this is just a half-ounce slide float. I have 3 number 2 split shots with a swivel. And then I have a pretty long leader, which is very necessary for this style of fishing because you really wanna suspend that presentation, which Kyle is gonna explain a little bit more here in a second. So I have that about 6.5 foot leader with a split shot running midline all the way down to my spawn sack here, and I have a little anise egg put on there with just a little trick that we can talk about later. But this is a spin rod setup, so tell us a little bit more about your pin setup.
Yeah, so pretty much a similar concept here. You know, down in this part of the river, we're just fishing long straight runs, so it's all about 7 to 10 feet of water. The current's pretty stable on the top, so we like to stack our shot pattern. That just allows us to really pinpoint those depths that the fish are sitting at. So, you know, we just have a 12 pound mono mainline. You can use really any kind of mono, you don't have to get fancy with it. I just have trilene on this one, and then I have a fixed float on here. Now there's a lot of good float brands out there. You don't have to get fancy with this one. This is a custom bobber, but Raven, Blood Run, you know, they all make good bobbers that will work good for this style of fishing. And then I just have split shot, just medium sized split shot, spaced out about 6 inches apart, all the way down to my barrel swivel here. And you know, the whole idea about this, like I said, is just keeping your bait vertical in the water with these straight runs. Now if we're fishing like gravel pockets where the current top of the water is broken up and it's swirly and deep, we might bulk shot just to get down faster, but this seems to work best for us. So down in this
bulk shot river. You mean like an actual fixed weight?
Yeah, okay. A fixed weight, you know, down closer to your hook, you know, so you don't have that way, that weight's just gonna fall right down into the hole and you're gonna be fishing immediately.
Yeah.
So
perfect. And so we run it down. Now let's show them a little bit about the spawn sacks here. We got all kinds of them next to us. We actually have a couple of spawn sack making tutorials on our YouTube channel. So if you guys want to see more of that, go on to Addicted Fishing, go to the how-tos and look up that how to make these spawn sacks. And you can sometimes buy these at the store, but most of the time if you're going to be fishing this presentation, you're going to have to make them at home.
Yes, yeah, if you can get fresh eggs, you know, you definitely want to run fresh eggs. I mean, you can improvise with stuff, but nothing's going to work as good as if you can get fresh steelhead spawn. Absolutely.
So real quick before we get started, Kyle's actually going to tie this up, show you how to make this spawn sack quick and easy right here on the boat. So let's do it.
Yep, so we just have 3x3 spawn netting here, and we just have a little spoonful of eggs. We're going to make these about the size of a nickel. So we're just going to place these eggs right in the middle of our square here. We're just doing this on the go, so it's just kind of make it work here. Hands a little chilly. But yeah, we're just going to place these eggs right in the middle here, and we're going to fold all the corners in towards each other. So we're gonna fold all these in. Okay, now we're just gonna twist the top, and you don't want to twist too tight. You just want to twist it so it just starts to become snug, but there's a little room in there, because when you go to wrap this with your elastic thread, that's going to cinch it down. You don't want to pop too many eggs. If you can tie these without popping eggs, you're going to have the best bait, because if you pop them and they get juicy, then your eggs are going to turn white faster and your bags won't last as long. So you see I have a little room for error there. Now I'm going to take this thread, and it just takes a little practice, and I'm just going to take it. This is just elastic thread, spawn tying elastic thread. You can get this anywhere online. I'm gonna wrap it, cinch it, about 5-10 times. Then all you have to do is break it. You don't even have to tie a knot. Then we're just gonna trim this. We're just gonna trim that right above the knot. And that bag's ready to fish. And you know, every river a different color works better depending on water conditions and colors. You know, for us, like chartreuse, pink and white, those seem to be the best for us in the wintertime. But in different size bait too, you know, right now the water's kind of low, so we're running these smaller baits, dime size, nickel size. But if we have big, high, dirty water in the springtime, we might even tie them as big as a quarter or a little bigger. So
perfect. Well, now we're going to take you guys, we're going to step into the river. He's going to explain how to fish his pin setup, but it relates exactly to how I'd be fishing my spin setup here. So let's step in the water, let's show him how to fish this stuff.
Let's do it. So the whole goal with fishing these floats in the wintertime is you just want the smoothest, most natural drift possible. You just want that bobber riding right with the foam, nice and vertical, and that, you know, your presentation makes a big difference here. So we're always adjusting our depths as well. You know, you always want to just keep adjusting your float, making sure you're on the bottom, going a little shallower. You know, keep adjusting it till your float starts to lean a little bit, and you can tell you're dragging when your float's leaning and it starts going down. Then just shallow it up a little bit and really pinpoint those depths. In the wintertime when the water's cold, you really just got to beat those fish in the face with your bait a lot of times. So with this center pin here, now, if you're just getting into this, you know, casting this thing can be a little tricky. For me, it was a headache at first. My buddies were showing me and I'm like, man, I see what you're doing, but it was kind of hard for me to get it at first. So this is the easiest cast to learn. You know, there's obviously more advanced casts as you progress that you can move up to, but just to learn and get started, this is the easiest way to get started. And this is just a simple side cast here. So what you want to do with your left hand is make an upside down L. You're gonna make the L shape and you're gonna turn it upside down. And you're gonna keep your two hands shoulder length apart. So you're gonna keep your hands shoulder length apart. And as you rotate through your cast, you wanna keep your hands at the same place. You don't want to move them, because if you go to cast and you bring this hand down, you know, or bring this hand up, then your line's going to hit the side of the reel. So essentially, when the line comes off the center pin, it's like coming off the top of a spinning reel. So it's, you know, coming straight up, and that's what you're doing with your hand, you know, so the line's coming straight off your reel, and that's really important. So as you cast, I'm going to make that upside down L, and that line's going to be going through my left hand all the way till when my bait hits the water. I'm gonna keep my hands shoulder length apart. I got this hand straight off my reel, and you want this hand straight off the reel all the way till your bait hits the water. So I have it straight off. I bring it to the side. I'm kind of just pinching the line with my right hand here to hold it, and I'm just rotating. And I got the line still going through my left hand here, and I'm just gonna drop it. Okay, now I got my pin moving. Okay, now I'm just waiting. We're gonna wait for this float to catch up a little bit. It's gonna take just a second too for your shot pattern to just straighten out and for that bait to get down. So now it's going. You know, I'm gonna keep my rod at a little bit of an up angle, because that's gonna just help control your line. That way, like I said, just getting that nice smooth presentation, keeping that float vertical as it moves through the water. When your float's completely vertical and moving through the water, you know your bait's just straight underneath your float. It's down to the bottom, and you can really pinpoint the depth you're fishing at. And now as my float goes down too, now it's starting to get a good ways below me here. What you want to do is mend the line, and you'll see you'll start to develop a bow in your line as your float moves down, and you know, your bobber will be here, but you'll have a big bow in your line. And when that happens, you just want to do a big high half circle, and that's going to straighten up your line. So right now I'm going to hold the line, do a quick half circle. You want to make it quick, that way you don't move your drift too much, and we're just going to keep it going back to the log jam. Now I got my reel spinning. I got my bottom 3 fingers just feathering that reel. You know, I'm controlling the speed, but I'm also watching my bobber, and that can be a tricky thing to develop. It just takes a little practice when you're running this thing. So I'm just slowing my reel down. Now when I go to set the hook, it's really important. You just want to clamp all the way down on that reel and swing on them, because if you don't clamp as hard as you can on that, then you're gonna zing, and it's gonna go, line's just gonna start shooting all over the place. And now your hand's the drag too when you hook up on one of these fish. So as soon as you hook up, you're gonna clamp down on that reel, get a good hook set, then you're just going to want to feather them. So you're just using your bottom 3 fingers here, and you're just going to feather that reel like you're the drag. So if you try, the biggest problem I see people when they run center pins when they're just learning is they don't feather them at first. They get that initial hook set, and then the fish will start to go for a run, and they'll clamp too hard, and it'll just snap right off. So you just want to feather them, you know, and it's just all about finding that perfect medium.
And so when you're fishing these, you like to start shallow and slowly work your way deep. Because the way he has that shot pattern, he's automatically fishing a certain depth every time. Semi the same way as we've using the slide float. We're setting that bobber stop to that particular depth, but you always want to start shallow because, like you said before, you want to look for those sharks, those fish that are going to come up and eat, because those are the most aggressive ones. Those are the ones you want to pinpoint first, and then you start slowly working your bobber deeper and deeper as you go down into the run. And what will tell you that you're finding bottom, it's a big question we see a lot here on our channel, is how do I know I'm finding the bottom? And it's going to be the positioning of your bobber. If your bobber's straight up and down, you know you're fishing. If it's pointing upriver, you know you're probably too shallow. But if that thing is dragging and pointing at a downriver angle at all, you know you're on the bottom. So you want to make those small adjustments. I always say a bobber length. So make bobber length adjustments. The bobber here is about 4 inches. If I use just about as much as my bobber or his bobber, it's about 6 inches. And use those small adjustments as you go down to get towards the bottom of the river.
And like Jordan said, you know, you always want to start shallow. Those hot fish are going to come up, they're going to attack your bait. And in Michigan here, and in most of the Great Lakes, a lot of our rivers are just filled with wood. So if you set shallow, you're going to float on top of that wood, and you're going to pull those hot fish right out of the wood a lot of times.
All right, so now that you guys know the basics, we're going to cut to a couple scenes of how effective this stuff can really be. Yep. Come on, baby. Oh boy. Oh, he's ripping. Kicking our butts. Come on, give me a head. Yeah, nice job, Cam. Look at that. Nice.
It's a nice shiny one.
Oh, it's freaking beautiful. All right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning into this tutorial. And thank you, Kyle, for spitting some knowledge at us. If you guys want to check out Kyle's page, he's got a really cool YouTube channel. It's called XXL Chrome Chasing. And you also have a guide service out here in the Great Lakes. What's that all about?
Yeah, so I guide full-time here in the Great Lakes. I do salmon, start salmon about late August, runs till mid-October, then do steelhead throughout the winter into the spring, and jig lake trout and salmon in the summertime on Lake Michigan.
Excellent. Well, it's been a lot of fun, you guys. Thank you so much. We hope this helped you learn a little bit more and maybe a new technique on how to catch fish. If you guys want to see more awesome tutorials just like this, go up here and click this link to this next video. Go down here, hit subscribe, turn your bells on, hit that thumbs up, and do not forget to comment below, and you can be the comment of the day just like this guy right here. You guys stay fishy, and we'll see you out there.